We'll jump in. So I wanted to talk about you're a unique guest because you've been on both sides. You have played at a very high level. You played college. You played in the WNBA. You know, you played professional basketball. And a lot of what's happening with our student athletes now is so foreign to people like you and I, who, you know, we were disciplined in terms of in college. We played for tough coaches.
Right.
We played with great players professionally. And we learned how to stay put. You know, we weren't going to be any bad situations, but we learned that, you know, if tough times are tough, it's because there's something for us to learn. So the first question I wanted to ask you about was the transfer portal. Just toss that out there. Let's talk about the transfer portal.
Listen, I'm reading, on Twitter, and they're just talking about the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And what's so startling to me, even though I didn't experience this because back in the day, the money was different. The money, it wasn't what it is. And so coaches weren't moving around the way that they're moving around. Not saying that they're moving around specifically for money, but just opportunities, it wasn't that many opportunities. So you had coaches who were in one school for, years and years and years. And you didn't even think about what happens if they leave. And now, a coach leaves, 17 of their players right behind them in the transfer portal, but I think that it has to do with a lot of factors though. Like, I think for one, I don't think that kids are doing a good enough job of evaluating these opportunities, evaluating the schools, evaluating the coaches, the programs, to make sure that it's going to be a good fit for me as a person first, as a player, as a student second, and as a player third. I think that the lure of, this coach is famous, or this is the celebrity coach, or this team went to, I see them playing on TV all the time, or this team is always on Twitter and they always have the nicest gear.
Wow.
I think that's, can you still see me?
I can.
Okay. I think that is what a lot of them are basing their decisions on, or who the coach is, which of course you want to know who, you want to like who you're playing for or what have you. But at the end of the day, you may not be one of those players who can up and go to another place. So I don't think that, number one, they're taking enough time or putting enough thought into that decision-making process of where am I going to spend the next 4 years, and how do I fit? Like, how do I fit? And then I don't think that they know themselves well enough. I don't think that they take the time to get to know themselves as a person, or as an athlete. You think, because I see it so much, and I've experienced it. Just, I could play for her, or I could play for him, because it looks like they're having a good time. It looks like they're having a good time. Everybody's happy when you win it. But what's going on behind the season? Can I handle being coached hard? Can I handle being told no? Can I handle being corrected? How do I handle things when I'm not the center of attention and I'm on the end of the bench? I mean, like, they don't take enough time to understand who they are. I know, and I only know this, I did it back then in the 90s, but there wasn't a name to it, self-assessing. There wasn't any of those things, but I knew myself well enough to know that I couldn't go to Georgia and play for Andy Landers, because I knew people who had played for him, and I knew our personalities weren't gonna really mesh well. Probably if I'd gone to Tennessee, I probably would have been a junior by the time I saw the court, so that wasn't gonna work. So I knew myself well enough at 17 and 18, just because I knew me well enough to know what situations would fit and which ones kind of wouldn't. I knew that I didn't want to go far away from home to where something happened, that it's a plane ride for my mom to get there, because we didn't have money like that. And if it's an emergency situation, I needed her to be able to get to me, or I needed to be able to get to her just by me hopping in the car. It's a matter of, you got $20 for gas, can I get there?
Right.
But I don't think that players take time to really consider the whole picture, to look at it they're just in the moment. They're just in the moment. And then they go to these schools and they find out, okay, I really don't fit. You know, our personalities don't mesh. I don't really like the school environment. Is too big or it's too small or it's too fast, or the level of competition, because the higher the level you played at Texas, the expectation of winning is somewhere else, like in the stratosphere. So you're expected to perform at a very high level all the time on the court and in the classroom. There's a high expectation for you because of the University of Texas and the standard that it sets academically. You have to perform. If you're not wired that way mentally, if you're not wired that way to perform or to give that much effort on a consistent basis, those are schools that you probably need to shy away from. You probably need to go somewhere where you can still, you know, have your spring break.
Yeah,
spring break is important to you. Or if you want to be able to go to the parties as a freshman and be a freshman, like you need to consider as a player, consider all of those things, because once you sign that scholarship, you know, your life is no longer your own. It belongs to you. You know?
I'll say, I know that most people, and I'm certainly in the number, with every great player, probably every bad player has been somewhere and said, I'm leaving. I actually said that at Texas when I was a freshman. I was like, oh, you think you're not going to play me? Like, I'm leaving.
Exactly.
I'm out of here. And remember having conversations with my fellow freshmen, and we're all sitting around commiserating with each other about how terrible Texas is and how hard it is, and we don't have to deal with this.
Y'all planning a revolt.
Exactly. We're like, you leaving? I'm leaving. Well, I'm leaving. Well, I'm leaving next week, and I'm leaving whatever. Because it was hard. It was hard. And so tell us about a time when you were going to leave Ole Miss and how you worked yourself through that.
Girl, listen, coming into Ole Miss, I was like the one, okay? I was like player of the year in Mississippi. You know, I was All-American, was on all kinds of watch lists and all this kind of stuff. And I go to Oxford, I'm thinking, I know I'm about to start. Like, it's about to be all the way on. It's about, y'all went to the Elite Eight last year. Oh, we're going to the Final Four this year because I'm the missing piece.
Right.
And I get myself up there and I get pregnant. And I am terrified because I literally had nothing. There was nothing at home for me but farm and maybe like a management position at the Family Dollar or Sonic, because those were the only two options. And so I wanted to leave, but I knew that I couldn't.
Wow.
I knew I couldn't because what was waiting for me. And so I cried. It was plenty of days that I cried. You played for Coach Chancellor. There are plenty of days when I was cussing on the inside. Like, you know, how am I going to figure this out? I'm 18. Like, I don't even know what I want, but I know what I don't want. And so I stuck it out because I didn't have anything else, but I knew that I didn't want what I had seen other players from my hometown experience. Wow. There were girls who were great from my hometown, and some of them went to HBCU, some of them went to, you know, like mid-major schools, and they found themselves in the same situation, or it got hard and they dropped out, or they had a kid and they quit and they went home, and next thing you know, they got 4 of them back to back to back. I didn't want that. So I had to figure out, okay, I am here. This is the situation that I'm in now. I can't undo it. So I got to figure this thing out. So what are my options? Are y'all going to let me keep my scholarship? Okay, scholarship in place, bet. My mom said, you know, if you promise me that you'll graduate from college, she put no time limit on it, thank God. But she was like, you just got to promise me that you'll graduate from college, then I'll help you. Oh, okay, cool. So now I've got people who, I got somebody in my corner, like, school is going to let me keep my scholarship, because I came from a place of appreciation, not entitlement, because it wasn't like it is now. They could have taken that thing away, and there was no APR. There was none of that stuff was at stake back then. They could have easily said, oh, you're pregnant. You're of no use to us right now. So you go back home to Port Gibson. We're going to give this scholarship to somebody else who can. But that wasn't my experience, thank God. And so I came from a place of, okay, now I've got to make it work, because not only was being a student athlete already hard, I compounded that by becoming pregnant. And so now I not only have to make decisions for myself or think of myself when I make decisions, I got a whole human being. Like, she ain't no Cabbage Patch doll. Like, she breathing and eating and pooping for real. Like, this is real. Like, the Pampers are real. Like, the, little bottle you have with the baby doll where you turn it up and it don't empty, but it look like, nah, this empty for real. And we gotta, like, so I had real life responsibilities. So I didn't have that option. Even if a transfer portal was available, who was gonna take a chance on me that I would come back and be the athlete that I was before I got pregnant? And on top of being pregnant, I had a knee injury. Right. I had never been injured before, so I was rehabbing a knee. So mentally, I'm trying to process all of this stuff at 18. So leaving Ole Miss was the furthest thing. I thought that was like the furthest thing from my mind, because right now that's the best. At that point, that was the best thing I had going for me. And if I was going to be able to take care of this kid, if I was going to be able to have any kind of good quality of life, then I had to stay in school. I had to stay put, stay where I was, and make it work.
One of the things I'm talking as we mentor young women and young men that I'm teaching them about the transfer portal is, listen, if you don't have job satisfaction, then you should sit down and evaluate your job. And being in college and being on a college team, you have to go through the same process that Yolanda just described. Evaluate what the categories are, what the areas are that are important to you. And we know y'all are not doing this because we talk to y'all and we mentor y'all, and y'all are hot-headed in the moment. Right. And then just making a split decision that's going to affect you for the rest of your lives. Right. And so, let's talk a little bit about some of the factors, maybe 2 or 3 factors that's causing student athletes to be emotional in the moment, think that what they have to do, the only choice they have is to move, is to go somewhere else. I know social media is one of them. So let's talk about that.
That's number one, because it's a lot of things, a lot of people, and a lot of things vying for their attention. And you think about it, these are 17, 18, 19-year-olds, and they aren't emotionally equipped or even emotionally developed enough they don't understand these are life-changing decisions that's going to impact them. The decisions that they're making at 17 is going to impact them at 27, and they don't understand that. I think, too, having unrealistic expectations of what this college experience is supposed to be. Yeah. It's not all fun and games. It is work. There are other people that have worked just as hard as you and who have fought to have an opportunity to come to that school. They got the same scholarship offer. They're not just going to let you walk in and get their playing time. Like you've got to compete. So I think that just having unrealistic expectations, not really knowing what that college experience is supposed to be like, because like you said, going back to number one, and I think that the culprit in all of this is absolutely social media. It's absolutely social media, because kids are wanting the gratification and they're wanting all the rewards, but they don't want any part of the work. And it took, y'all were 34-0 in Texas when you won the national championship. How many hours, how much sacrificing did you, I'm sure you probably had, the friends you had were your teammates. There weren't any parties, there weren't any, all that stuff. Like you don't have time. Like if you want to do something great and you want to, it's work, it's basketball, outside of sports, whatever. There are certain sacrifices that you have to be willing to make. Kids don't want to make those sacrifices. And again, I believe it's because of what they're seeing on social media, the inability to separate reality from this fantasy world that people are posting and painting and creating, and they want a part of that. Right. They want in on that. Another factor, I think, is just misinformation. Thinking that grass is greener on the other side and being sold a bill of goods. Again, because I've been on both sides, I know that this exists. A kid can be lured from their school, not because the coach wants that kid, but they just don't want that coach to have that kid. And so they don't understand that a lot of times they're just pawns in a personal, game that's going on. So again, social media, just mismanaged expectations and just misinformation, not really knowing and understanding the landscape of how this thing really, really works. And again, that goes back to just knowing, having some sense of idea of who you are, what it is that you want for you. I don't even think kids are really thinking for themselves anymore.
Right.
It's whatever my AAU coach tells me. It's whatever my mom, because she did, she got her unfulfilled dreams, or my dad got his unfulfilled dreams. Now he's trying to live vicariously through me. Mm-hmm. I don't want to disappoint them. They spent thousands of dollars on AAU and summer and training, and they tell me this all the time, every time I turn around. Yes. So I owe it to them. No, you don't owe them nothing. Mm-hmm. You don't owe them anything, because at the end of the day, if you go where they want you to go or not, if you decide not to, if you decide to make your own decision and say, okay, you want me to go to Ole Miss? No, I'm going to go to Texas, because I believe that Texas is going to position me for the life that I want after basketball is done. Guess what? They still going to love you. They might be mad for a minute, and I'm speaking because I got kids. They haven't always made the decisions that I would have made for them, or I would have wanted them to make. But at the end of the day, my middle daughter, she's 23, she just left. I still love them. And I'm still going to be here from them. And that's what kids need to understand, is that at this juncture, these decisions are going to affect and impact them. And they need to make the decisions based on their own goals and their own dreams and what they believe to be true for them and the life that they want to have. Because we all have, no matter what age we are, we all have a vision of what we want our lives to be like, whether it's, I want my life to be just like I had when I grew up, or I don't want my life to look nothing like like I want to be the complete opposite of that. Like you have some idea of what you want that life to be like. So you have to have the confidence, develop the confidence and the courage to make a decision for yourself.
The last question for the student athletes is, as a coach who's evaluated talent and decided who you wanted to bring into your fold, to your team, what are 3 kind of hot stove issues that you see with student athletes, recruiting student athletes today, that when you see that you go, oh, stove is hot, I don't think I want to touch that?
The mama and the daddy. The parents. The parents. Seriously, for me, that's huge. Just because if I'm not calling you to tell you how to parent, I really would appreciate you not calling me, telling me how to coach. And if you don't trust that I'm going to do the things that are in the best interest of your kid, then don't let them come to me, So I would say the parents, because they have so much influence on the kids, and you know if a parent is going to be a problem.
Yep.
Right off the bat. And most coaches don't want to deal with that because there are too many players who want the opportunity who they don't have to deal with that. Mm-hmm. So that would be number 1 for me. Number 2 is character, for sure. If they are a good person, like, are you a good person? Am I going to be able to trust you when I don't have my eyes on you? Like, can I trust you to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, and for no other reason? Just do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And I would say these are twofold: work ethic and attitude. I don't want to have to coach your effort. Like, that's too mentally draining to have to coach your effort. If I got to rah you all the time, why are you here? I'm not your babysitter. I'm not your personal cheerleader. I will cheer you on, but I can't, you can't, that can't be the key to make you go. Like, you gotta have some type of internal drive. You gotta want this for yourself. I can't want it more for you more than you want it for yourself. And then your attitude, if you're not coachable, if you're gonna argue every point, if I'm telling you you're not touching the line and you're gonna argue me that you're touching the line, or like, that's just, it takes away too much time from us having to teach the tactical aspects of the game and to be able to develop you in other areas where that's all in your control. Mm-hmm. Your attitude, your character, and your work ethic, those are things that you're totally in control of, but those are things that coaches have to spend too much time trying to not necessarily develop, but trying to curve or redirect. I mean, it's just, Yeah, those for me would be my top ones.
And then the last thing, what is a dream recruit?
Oh, somebody who for me is just is intrinsically motivated and just loves the game, loves everything about it, the work, the losses, the wins, being a good teammate, the ups and downs of it. Just somebody just who embodies, like, I want to get better, I want to learn, and I'm here, I want to be a sponge. And they show that. Like, you don't have to tell them to want it. Like, it's just there. And you don't always have to be the most talented player. Like, but if I see that it's there, and you can tell by the language, by the body language, by how they show up every day, by if they're willing to go the extra mile, if they're coming to ask, if they're willing to help a teammate, those kinds of things. So for me, the perfect recruit would be somebody who's talented in their position, but somebody who just craves getting better, who just wants to get better and has a deep, deep love for the game. Because when you have a deep love for the game, it's just like being in a relationship. If I love you, I'm gonna do everything in my power to make sure that you know it, that you feel it, that you can see it, you're gonna hear it, in the way that I talk to you, you'll know it in the way that I hold your hand, like that. You just gotta love it to that point, because then that makes my job as a coach easy. Because now all I have to do is teach you what to do. I don't even teach you what I need you to do and how to do it from a tactical perspective. That's what I'm there for. The other stuff, you bringing that to the table, it makes my job easier.
Perfect. All right, let's turn our attention, Yolanda, to coaching. You have coached at the college level. Did you coach high school as well?
I coached high school briefly.
Briefly, there was enough for you. Was it briefly?
That's not my ministry. That is not my ministry at all.
We clashed. That didn't work out. So what's happening right now in the coaching landscape is really interesting to me. I'm not a coach. I was a GA at Texas, and then I was a high school coach briefly when I first got out of graduate school. So what's happening now in 2020, looking at the coaching landscape and looking at all the opportunities that are out there, we're also seeing some trends where coaches are getting out of coaching, right? Coaches are saying, I must take a step back for a couple of years or whatever. So you're not coaching right now.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about your coaching journey and where you are right now and why you're where you are right now.
Well, I actually started pursuing college coaching back in like 2003. And I was doing they tell you to make your list of 25 people that's coaching and reach out to them and that whole thing. You do the networking thing. So I was going to the WBCA conventions and going to games and reaching out to people who I knew in the industry, applying for jobs all the while, and assistant coaching positions, because I knew that I didn't have, I wasn't a big name in the WNBA, so I couldn't walk into no head coaching job just right off the bat. And I was willing to take whatever position I could take, because I believed that I had something to give, and I wanted to learn. I wanted to learn how to do that and how to be a good coach. And so I was applying for assistant coaching jobs like every year when when this time of year when the jobs are available, I'm applying, being told no. I even tried to volunteer. I couldn't even work for free. So I'm like looking at myself wondering, okay, is this even the right path for me? So in 2013, after I got turned down for the last assistant coaching job, I was like, you know what? Bump it. I'm going to apply for a head coaching job. I mean, what's the worst they could say? No. Yeah. I mean, I've been hearing no for 10 years. So another one ain't going to kill me. Mm-hmm. And the first head coaching job I applied for, I got it. I was like, God, like all this time, I've been reaching too low. Why you ain't just tell me that? And it was at a JUCO. And it was for like $40,000. Mm-hmm. I drove the vans. I washed the uniforms. I had to do the conditioning, had to run the practices. I had to help set up the games, and I had to teach 2 classes.
Dang.
For $45,000. Yeah, and I was so happy.
Yeah.
I was so happy just because somebody gave me an opportunity. I was so extremely happy. And I took over a team that had won like 8 games combined in like the last 3 years or something like that. And so we won. We did really, really well. and we won our conference championship. We were ranked nationally, all this good stuff. And so then I applied for a Division I head coaching job. And again, reaching out to people, they're like, oh, Yolanda, you're crazy. That's not going to happen. You're not going to be able to get a head coaching job at D1. You've only got 1 year college coaching experience, and that's at the JUCO level. At best, you might be able to become an assistant coach. Right. I even had an agent tell me, your resume wouldn't even make it out of human resources. I was like, oh, okay. So what I need to do then, I need to not go to human resources. I need to go directly to the athletic directors. That's what I need to do. And so I reached out to the athletic directors. Like that was my strategy. But what I did was I tried to give myself a leg up by doing a deep evaluation of the programs. So I went in and I looked at all the statistics and I did comparisons of, you know, the top teams and kind of created a plan of how are we going to get from where we are to where we want to be. And I sent those out FedEx and, you know, because you can call on the phone, they can say, oh, it's not available. Right. But if you send them something by FedEx, they got to sign for it, so you know they got it. Yep. So, and I was able to get my first head coaching job, D1 head coaching job. And we didn't do well with wins, but we did well academically. There were a lot of things that I didn't know, a lot of questions that I didn't know to ask. I didn't really know. I knew statistically how to evaluate the program, but I didn't from an administrative point. So there were some questions. Why haven't y'all had a winning season in the last 13 years? Like, you know, those kinds of things. What is, you know, why am I having to fundraise $100,000 in guaranteed game money, and then you want me to go out and get another $25,000? Where am I supposed to get it from? Right. You know, so I didn't know to ask those questions. So I really didn't know what I was walking into. And so I had a 2-year contract there. It wasn't renewed, and I was relieved. Because I was like, okay, it's some more stuff I need to learn. Like when they brought me in and said, we're not going to renew your contract, I was like, okay. I didn't push back or anything like that. I wasn't offered any feedback and I didn't ask for any. But I was like, okay, this assignment is up. Let me step back. And so I was out for not a full year, well, maybe like a full year. But in that time, in between that time, I did a lot of self-evaluation. I was researching other, you know, how do you evaluate a program? What is this about college fundraising? I started reaching out to coaches who had worked at those levels because I was coaching in the Southeastern Conference, and it's different from coaching, you know, at the BCS level. But that's where the people that I knew had coached, so they couldn't give me any advice because they had never been there. So now I learned reach out to people who have been at that level because they can give you practical advice on how they navigated that lane. And Coach Shaper, Big Shaper was one, because he had coached at Sam Houston State, and he helped me out a lot in terms of how to really just be, you know, work those kinds of programs. And so I got myself ready, you know, and I said, God, if you give me another opportunity, you know, I'm ready. And so I didn't even apply for the job at Clark Atlanta. I was referred. And I think my email to the AD, once somebody, you know, I got the referral and they said, reach out to him. He's expecting you. It was like 2 sentences. Like, hi, I'm Yolanda. You know, I've heard you were looking for a coach. I've attached my resume. Let me know what you think. That was it. It wasn't even a whole bunch of other stuff. Because my thought process at that point was like, if they're interested, they'll call. If not, it's not for me. And so he did call. I went there. Again, team was at the bottom. Went to the top. We won the conference. Went to the NCAA tournament. All this kind of stuff. It's a D2 program. We have no scholarships. At the end of the year, the kids are leaving. It cost $36,000 to be at that school. I had some walk-ons, and, you know, we're having our end of the year interviews, and I had one kid say, Coach, I can't navigate this environment. It's just too much for me. You can't give me any money. I got to go. Another one, I think our freshman of the year, she said, I just want to play against better competition. You know, what, as a coach, you know, me, I'm not going to try to talk you out of it. Like, if you feel like that's what's best for you, I'm going to give you my blessing. So it wasn't a whole lot of trying to talk them out of it, but more so tell me exactly what it is. Like, be honest with me. Help me, you know, so I'll know moving forward what changes we need to make. And then, you know, HBCU environment is kind of different. It's different. And I don't think that I was really prepared for just how to navigate things in that environment. And great people, but just processes and things were just different. And my first year, I was I'm a single parent. And so my twins were 11, no, they were 9 at the time. And so I moved to Atlanta, had a friend who said she was going to help me out, had relatives, oh, we'll help you out. You know how that goes. You get there and they're like, we ain't going to be able to do it. So now I'm driving to all of our away games. So I would go and pick my kids up early from school. And we had away games that were 2 hours, 4 hours, 1 hour. So I literally would, because they couldn't ride the bus. Men's and women's traveled together. The teams traveled together. So my first year there, I'm driving to all of our away games, picking my kids up early from school, getting there an hour before the team, getting dressed, making sure they're straight. They're sitting on the bench. You know, the kids are sitting on the bench. So I'm making sure, trying to make sure they're okay. And then at the end of the game, you know, we leave, drive 2 hours back. I got to get them up and ready for school the next morning. It was just a lot.
That is a lot.
It was a lot. So my second year, I decided to let them stay in Dallas with my family, thinking that would be better. But I'm on the road 12 hours, you know, trying to get back and forth because I don't want there to be that disconnect. And so at the end, when the end of the season came, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna have to step back because this is too much for me. And I think that I can do a lot, but it's time for me to take the cape off. And if I'm going to be a college coach, then there are certain things that have to be in place for me to be able to be effective. I'm not gonna be distressed out. I'm not gonna be, you know, as a mom, you have the mom guilt, you have the stress of being away from your kids, and then the stress of the job. We didn't have scholarships, so we're trying to fill a roster. We're trying to, you know, fundraise and do all this other stuff when there are really no resources. And so I decided for me that it was too much mentally and emotionally. So I needed to take a step back because I didn't like who I was kind of becoming because I didn't have any place to put my emotions and my frustration. And really, Fran, what really did it was I went off on a kid in a practice. She absolutely deserved it, but she just didn't deserve it like how she got it.
Right.
And when I exploded on her in front of everybody, I left and I felt relieved. I didn't feel bad. And I was sitting there eating and I said, Yolanda, you don't feel bad. That's a problem.
Yeah.
That is a problem. You over here at Cheesecake Factory doing it up. Like I took myself to lunch. Like that's how relieved I was. I'm serious. I'm so serious. I went to Cheesecake Factory and I did it up to the one in Alpharetta, not even the one in, you know, like over in Marietta. I went way out. Like I was gonna do it up, and I was sitting there eating. I said, "This is a problem."
Good for you.
You don't feel bad. So you need to. If this is who you're going to become, if this is who you have to be able to be a coach, we can't be a coach because that's not what I want. That's not who I am as a person. And if it were my child, I wouldn't have wanted a coach to talk to my child or make them feel like that.
Listen, you are going into an area that I wanted to go into with you because, as you know, we've had exchanges on Facebook about a lot of personal development, professional development, heart, soul issues, especially in the profession of coaching. And one of the reasons I will not coach is because I do not want to become a lot of the coaches that I know, just to be candid. And so I refuse to put myself in that boiler room. And not that we all think like I wouldn't become that. Like, I don't think I would become that, but I know I would be so frustrated with people behaving badly that I probably wouldn't last. Like I couldn't last in the profession because I'm not going to do the shit that people do. And so for you to say that really excites me because I start to think maybe there are no coaches who have souls. Maybe there are no coaches who really have hearts. Maybe there are no coaches who really want to do the real thing, the right thing, because I see so many examples of people doing the wrong thing. Right. So what did you do with that? Because you had at least your heart, your soul, your conscience was still intact for you to, even though you were getting down on that cheesecake, for you to understand that this is not okay. What did you do with that?
You know what, Fran, what it reminded me of, and I'm just gonna be candid since we family.
Yeah.
You know, I played for a coach in college who I saw the mental games that he played with my teammates.
Yeah.
And I saw them, they were like highly recruited, all Americans, all this stuff, and they came there and he reduced them to nothing.
Yep.
Just with the mental games. And
yep.
I don't know, I was so strong, I always fought it. And I always found myself fighting for them. Mm-hmm. And my whole goal was like, I don't ever want to be like that. I don't ever want to be like that. I don't ever want to be like that. But you know, the power of your subconscious mind, and you talk about all that you don't want to be, you become the thing that you say you don't want to be, because the subconscious mind doesn't work in the negative. It only works in the present, in the positive. So if you're telling it that you don't want to be something, it's going to work extra hard to make sure you become that.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know that at the time. And to even think that I put a kid in the mindset that they were depressed, or that just didn't sit well with me at all. And so when I was sitting, I literally, like how we're talking, I was like, Jan, this is not what we signed up for. Mm-hmm. We didn't get into this to be that. We got into this because of that, because we didn't want, because of what we saw. We didn't want other kids to go through that. And we didn't want young women beat down and told that they're nothing. And not that I said that, but even made to feel that. Right. So we gotta, we're gonna have to do something. And so I literally left. Like I had a whole nother year, was making 100 and whatever thousand. Mm-hmm. And I was like, the money is not worth it. Like the money, the position, like it just wasn't worth it to me. So I took a step back and I actually worked with a mental strength coach. Mm-hmm. And me, I'm the kind of person that I can pull myself out of ruts. I can pull myself out of, situations. Mm-hmm. But as I stepped back and I saw, like, my son was dealing with, he was diagnosed with ADHD and had some severe behavior issues. I had put my 9-year-old son in a behavior facility for 5 days. Like I'm dealing with this stuff and I can't tell anybody. I can't go to my athletic director. You ain't on my side. You know what I'm saying? Like this, there were issues there. Right. And I'm fighting at work, like legally fighting at work. I'm fighting, trying to make sure that I don't leave my son hanging. I'm trying to figure out what's going on with him. And then these kids, it was just so much on me, Right. So I worked with a mental strength coach because, like I said, I didn't have anywhere to put my emotions.
Yeah.
Yeah, because typically you're an athlete, that's where you put your stuff. Mm-hmm. You take it out on the court. I wasn't working out. Like I ain't gonna work out, so I wasn't putting it there. So I didn't have anywhere to put it. So all of this stuff that I had suppressed, all of these things, they were coming up. So I worked with a mental strength coach. I was diagnosed with severe anxiety and depression, and I was taking medication. Now this was after I'd done the stuff with the NBA. Like I enrolled in the NBA assistant coaches program and was traveling and working with them and working the combine just because I needed to see basketball at a different level. I need to see professionalism. Yeah. I need to see it done right again. Mm-hmm. And being around people who were of the same mindset. Because I spent the last 2 years in a very toxic environment with people who weren't of the same mindset. Mm-hmm. And so after that was over, after we came back from Japan, and I found myself in a funk that I couldn't get out of. I felt bad about what had transpired with that young lady. Like the whole time, that whole year, I'm like, I need to apologize. I need to work through this stuff. I was dealing with my son and, and his issues, or I won't say issues, but, helping him manage his challenge. Right. And I got with this young lady, her name is AJ, and she showed me how to reframe my thoughts. She showed me how to, how to de-stress and how to, realize what my triggers were, and to really just reconcile a lot of things that had happened over the course of the 2 years or over the course of my life that I hadn't dealt with on a personal level, but were manifesting itself in other ways. And the defining moment came for me when I was taking this medication. I was on it for 3 days. And my oldest daughter, who is 27, and my middle daughter is 23, they came and sat me down at the table. And my oldest daughter was crying. And she said, Mom, you look like a zombie. You look like you're about to die. I lost so much weight. I couldn't get out of the bed. I literally, physically could not get out of the bed. It hurt to get out of the bed. I was doing nothing. I was sick and I was in a daze. And my middle daughter, Ashley, she said, you can't die on us. Like, you can't die on us. You've gone through worse and we've seen you overcome worse. So I don't know what you're going through, but you have to get up. And if you can't do it for you, can you at least do it for us? And that was what got me. Okay, you can't help yourself. You need to get somebody who can help you. Yeah. And I literally got a mental strength coach, and they took the pills. I don't even know what they did. When like, you can't have these. Whatever it is, you're going to have to find the strength that you've always had, that you've always found in you, Mom, and you're going to have to get up. Yeah. And a lot of times coaches, especially head coaches, we don't think we need help. Everybody needs a coach. Everybody needs some help, you know? And I was humble enough to say, I can't do it this time. You know, I can't do it this time. And so I did work with somebody.
Yeah, I will say there are so many things that came up, and I'm going to just go one to one and maybe talk back and forth with you. The first thing that came up when you started talking was the fact that one of my mentors said, when we got into coaching, we got into it for the kids.
Right.
And then the money got so great and people started getting into it for the money.
Right.
And then just figured, you know, it's just basketball, it's just football, it's just volleyball. I can figure that out. I'm getting $1 million or whatever. So they got into it for the wrong reason, but they stayed in it for the money. And so now what you have, and coaches, please hear us on this. What you have are a lot of people coaching young people who really don't want to help young people transform their lives.
Don't even like them. Don't even like kids like that.
Absolutely. They want their check and they want their acclaim and their fame and I'm the head coach at this or whatever, but they're not in it for the right reason. Look into my eyeballs. If you are not in it for the right reasons, get out.
Get out.
Get out. You are hurting young people. You are hurting athletic programs. You're hurting the profession. Get out. And so, Yolanda, you have the courage to step away from a situation that you realized based on your set of values was not okay the way you behaved. So the second thing, and I'm going to volley it back to you, is what gave you said something about coaches not wanting to get help. I can tell you, name on 2 fingers, the number of coaches I know who are going to acknowledge, first of all, that they don't know everything. And then number 2, who are going to take the next step to say, I need help. How were you able to do that? Was it the daughters? Was it Courtney and them telling you?
Courtney and them. It was their influence, but it was also me, because I just didn't want to be that person.
Yeah.
Like I just didn't want to be that person. And like you said, I know prominent coaches who when ESPN got that mic is, you know, I love my kids, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But then you talk to the kids, they don't even, we can't even go in their office.
Yep.
They don't even talk to us. We're being called, you know, out of our names all the time. And I'm like, I couldn't do that. Like, I wasn't at that point. I didn't want to get to that point. But Fran, here's the thing. I think what keeps a lot of coaches in that profession who have stayed, it's like being in a relationship when you know the relationship been over, but you stay because it's familiar and you don't want to have to go and like start a whole, get to know somebody else and all that. You don't want to go through that process, and you invested all that time and all those years, and you expecting at some point I'm gonna at least get a little bit of return.
Yeah.
A lot of coaches, it's like being an athlete. Their identity has become that, and they don't know anything else. They don't know what else they can do outside of that. One thing about me is that I know that there are so many other things that I knew that there were so many other things that I could do. Like I got 4 classes left for my PhD. That's what we're gonna do. You know, we got that, you know, like I've gotten a specialist. Like it's so many other things that I can do and that I want to do. Like I have interests outside of basketball. I don't have to have it. Like I don't have to coach. Like I'm still the bomb. Like I'm still gonna be able to contribute. I'm still gonna be able to make whatever salary I decide or whatever, have whatever lifestyle, because I have other gifts and talents that God has blessed me with. That is like, I think for a lot of coaches, it is like a, I don't know, like a codependency. Like, this is, I don't know myself outside of this. And this is where I get my confidence from. This is how people know me, and all of these things. Because one thing that I've struggled with just in trying to establish my business on a, like my coaching and personal development performance training is, are people going to see me out, like not as a coach? Like, I don't want them to see me as just a basketball coach. Like, you know, because I'm so much more than that. Like, that's just like a very small part. So how do I position myself? So I've enrolled in courses. I've taken, you know, one of your courses. I've enrolled in courses. Like, I've invested heavily in myself, in my own personal development and exploring. You know, I've spent the money. I paid the $1,000 for courses. Like, I'm not afraid, because I know that I'm worth it. And I want to learn what I don't know. Coaches a lot of times don't want to invest in themselves. They want stuff for free. They just want you to give it to them because I'm at this school and it'll be good for you to say that you work with me, because no, I'm gonna need you to cash out me or PayPal, and then we can get to talking. You know what I'm saying? Like, I helped a coach, a men's coach. He was referred to me. I helped him do his portfolio. As he was saying all this stuff, I was like, okay, it's gonna be this investment. Well, what can I get for X amount? And this is, I don't have that. Like, you can get this, or you get nothing. And he ended up paying, but I'm like, if you want to get to the level you say you want to get to, first of all, you have to connect with people who've been there. Because I can't tell you how to drive to California if I've never driven to California. So you don't want to come to me. I can tell you how to get from Grand Prairie to DeSoto, but I can't get, you know. So that's number one. And number two, you got to be willing to invest. And I think that that's what hinders a lot of coaches, because especially at certain levels, you're given a lot of things. It's just like being an athlete. Right. You're given a lot of things. Like, the red carpet is rolled out for you, and that expectation is carried over into life. And so they don't know how to operate in that space, and they're afraid to take that step, because you have to start from not necessarily the bottom, but you have to start in unfamiliar territory, because now you're not the expert. Now you're not the go-to. Now you're not you're not the one. And so for me, it was easy for me to walk away. Like, it was easy for me to walk away, because I knew I had so many other things. I got so many books that I've written that I haven't published, books that I've published and haven't marketed, like courses that I've got, like all this stuff that I want to give. And I'm not afraid of that. But other coaches don't see where they add value outside of coaching. But I think that I know that because I played at the highest level, because I've coached, I have so much to offer to people in business, people just in life in general.
Yeah, I polled about 100 coaches over the last 2 or 3 years, and I said, if you were not coaching, what would you be doing? And
what that look like?
95 of them said, I don't know. And the honesty, the vulnerability, because I knew the answer, because it's obvious to me that you don't enjoy what you're doing, but you don't know what else you would do if you didn't do that, which is actually one of the reasons I didn't go into coaching, because I said, I need to know who I am away from this basketball. I need to know who I am away from this game. And then maybe I can come back and decide if that's what I want to do. But what I'm not going to do is derive my confidence from this game solely. I'm going to take all the gifts that I've gotten, all the things that I've learned, and I'm going to channel that into some other profession, because I know that gave me a nice package. But what I'm not going to do is just do the easy thing, the default thing, and just become a coach, because I don't think I can do anything else. I don't have the vulnerability. I'm not willing to step out and learn other things so that I can be more valuable to society. So coaches, as you're listening to this strong medicine about who you are and what you're doing, one of the things I want you to take away is that there's strength in vulnerability. I know most people don't tell you that there's strength in saying, listen, I need help. Listen, I'm not the best at this. Even in your coaching, even if it's defense or offense or fast breaks or whatever, you've got, because we see it, it shows. You're not fooling anybody.
Like, we see you.
We can see, you do know you're not invisible. We can see your weaknesses. So you may as well get help for those weaknesses. The second thing I will say is that there's power in stepping away. There's a lot of power in stepping away if for a month or for a year or 10 years or whatever, there's power in saying that. The third thing I will say, and Yolanda has really shown you guys, is that there's power in developing yourself. There's power in reaching out. A mental strength coach, a life coach, a business coach, whatever it is you need, you've got to be able to do that, because that's only going to make you better in your current situation. So Yolanda, as we close, one last piece of encouragement and strong medicine for coaches who are watching, who are dealing with some of the issues, the mental health issues, the confidence issues that we talked about, the getting better issues, the getting better opportunities that we talked about today.
I think the main thing the main point I want to get across to is coaches have to first see themselves as people first, because we get caught up in that whole, I'm a coach, just like we did if you played as an athlete. Somebody asks you, hey, who are you, what's your name? Oh, I'm Yolanda. Well, what do you do? I'm a basketball player. That's the thing. So try to maintain your identity outside of what you do. Understand that what you do is not who you are. And you do have value outside of that, and own your shit, man. Own it. Don't be afraid to say, I mucked up. I messed up bad, and that was nobody but me. I think when you can start from that place, I think that number one, people will have more respect for you. You'll have more respect for yourself. Mm-hmm. And then two, you open yourself up, I guess, spiritually or just in every way possible for now better opportunities, people to help you, connections. When I don't know it, I messed up and I'm here, I need help, I want to get better. People are willing, people can understand that, because you're human. You're a whole real human being with human being issues and problems, and none of us are, which COVID-19 is showing us, none of us are above suffering. Mm-hmm. None of us are above issues. And so it's okay to take the cape off and say, look, can you hold this for me? Because it's heavy. I can't, I can't take it. So I would definitely, for sure, maintain your identity.
Maintain your identity and your humanity. So last two questions.
Can I say something to you?
Sure.
Do you remember when we were in Houston, and I don't know if it was a practice, and how our coach was. And I think more than anybody, I got every single day, it was how I'm not good enough for this, or I'm not going to ever be better than this person, every day. And you pulled me aside and you said to me, Yolanda, if you weren't supposed to be here, you wouldn't be here. And I never forgot that. Do you remember that?
I do. I just felt that. I do.
You looked me in my eyes, because I was so frustrated. I was so mad and just pissed off. And you just Yolanda, you grabbed me, you said, if you weren't supposed to be here, then you wouldn't be here. And I never forgot those words. And when I saw you, when you left the WNBA and you were working in television, and then I saw you wrote your book, and I've always followed you. And I was like, you know what? You were my model. Mm-hmm. You were always my model, because you didn't stay in that box. You didn't let basketball define you. You never let anybody's definition, you didn't let anybody else define what you could or could not be or do. And I just always appreciated you for that, from afar. You've always been my motto.
I appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. That feels great, because you never know what you're doing and how you're moving is impacting people. Sometimes you'll never get to talk to people. And so that's why I'm always glad to see when folks are doing stuff, because I'm like, you're helping somebody. So I appreciate you sharing that with me, which actually takes me to my last question, my real last question, which is about women and African Americans in coaching. I said my other question, but I'm looking at two Black women, and I'm looking at two Black, fierce, open, honest women. And I'm going, we're becoming what do you call that? Distinct, what do you call that when they're disappearing and
extinct?
Yes, we're coming a distinct.
We're an endangered species, right?
Exactly. So, what are your thoughts on? First of all, let's talk about women. There are always these conversations about women and coaches, and women coaching in college, and how the guys are getting all the jobs. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on the seemingly shrinking pool of women at top jobs?
The guys are getting all the jobs. because the guys are hiring the guys that's getting all the jobs and the money that's involved. And when we fight for ourselves and we stand up for ourselves, we're emotional, we're hard to deal with. And this is any woman, not just the Black woman.
Right.
You got, we're emotional. Oh, she can't handle it. But when a man stands up and fights for the same thing, oh, he's strong, he's confident, he's tough, he's not going to back down. So it's always going to be, it's that level of, I guess, do you call it sexism or,
biases.
It's that. And we fought so hard so many times, so many of us. There are women who have been in this business since 95 who are just now getting their opportunities, and they've had to fight every step of the way for 20 plus years. And you get to a point where I'm tired.
Yeah.
Y'all gonna beat me down like that? You look at what happened at North Carolina with Sylvia Hatchell. If y'all wanted that bad, take it.
Yeah.
If you wanted that bad, take it. But I don't think that there are enough of us in those positions to make those hiring decisions because the presidents aren't women, so the athletic directors
aren't women a lot.
Yeah. So I think you have that because people hire who they know and who they're comfortable with in those situations. Because I'm just gonna be frank, a lot of these athletic directors don't give a damn about women's basketball.
Right.
Okay. They want to go for, I want a big name hire. Why? Just not because of the program, because you want your university and your program to be in the spotlight. You want your 5 minutes of fame. And they don't care about mentoring you or making sure that you have what you need to be able to be successful. And if you're Black, they're going to give you this long to go in there and turn it around. And if you ain't Jesus and turn water into wine in 1 year, you out and you're not going to get another opportunity.
Right.
And I don't know what you do about that. If you have the strength and the stamina to fight it, if you're not afraid, if you're not afraid to stand up and say, we ain't taking, if you're ready to take the bra off and burn it, then go ahead and fight. You know what I'm saying? But I think that there are a lot of women who are just, I'm tired. And then women have families and children, and it's a lot of stress. So I think that it's just a combination of what you said. Men are getting the jobs because men got the jobs to give the jobs to other men. And then women, we're tired of fighting. And then they put these things in place, the narrative that's being told just about women in leadership positions in general. I can't have a moment because I'm emotionally unstable. He can have a moment and it's grit, it's toughness. It's the same thing. It's just he's a boy and I'm a girl, and you look at me differently because he's a boy and I'm a girl.
And I'm a girl. So, women coaches, even more importantly, it's even more important that you develop because of what Yo is saying. Your personal, professional, and business development is on 1,000 because of the biases and prejudices and stereotypes and all those things that are a part of just being a woman in this world. Absolutely. You got to be getting better at your job. You got to be getting better as a person. You got to be getting better as a leader. That is your only shot.
Absolutely.
I don't know why we don't know that, or we're not doing anything about that.
Yes.
Your best shot at being in this profession 20 years from now or getting a job is to be an amazing leader, an amazing person to work with and for, because that's going to create the buzz that you need in the athletic department, in the university, community, and with student athletes and recruits, because you're a great leader. It starts with leadership, and not enough of us are investing in our own personal leadership. No. And that's why we can't keep jobs. That's why we can't get jobs sometimes. And so maybe this doesn't apply to guys. Like, I know some guys who are bad leaders, but because of everything we just said, they're going to keep getting the job because they're guys sometimes and they win and whatever.
Right.
We got to be women, Black people, Black women, Black former athletes, or no matter what color you are, your game has to be so tight from a leadership standpoint, from a do the right thing standpoint, for you to be able to thrive and survive in this profession. We say we want these things, but we're not developing. Do you find it interesting that this is a predominant African-American sport, but the coaches are not predominantly Black coaches?
Do I find it, am I surprised by it? Do you know the dollars that are associated with that come with this sport?
Yeah.
Like, that's why.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched the documentary, The Scheme, and it was about
I saw it.
Chris Dawkins. So he talked about that. Like, if the majority of the players weren't melanated, didn't have all this melanin, and the coaches were, if it was reversed, where the majority of the coaches were Black and the players were white, it wouldn't be all this. But the money that's involved. If that doesn't tell you how much of a business that sport is, I don't know what else. When you look at the NBA, when you look at Wall Street, when you look at all these major companies, who's running the table? Like, the owners are white, the CEOs that are making the millions and billions of dollars, they're all white.
Yep.
Where's the talent? I went to the most astonishing thing that happened to me was when I went to the NBA pre-draft combine, and all around were all of the white owners and scouts and coaches and everybody that was performing. And literally, they were sitting there like this with their notepads, writing notes, wingspan, height, look at his build, look at this.
Stop. I hear this.
And I'm just looking. I don't even care about nothing else at this point. I'm looking, and I can't even tell you how that made me feel.
I hear it. I feel it. I know. I heard you. I'm like, that's 1865 on the block.
And they grinning, they running, they jumping, they're doing, all this stuff. And I'm hearing the scouts, and and I'm like, do y'all not understand? So when I see people like Kevin Durant and all these other players, no, I want 182 million. Ask for 382 million while you at it. And give me one if you. But I mean, like, I think now players in the NBA are understanding their value more, and they're understanding that they are a business. I think they understand that they are the business, that they are the product. And so they're learning now they can't change how it is. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this game, and I'm going to play it to my advantage. I'm going to move all the chess pieces to make sure that while you get yours, I get mine too. I'm going to use my voice. I'm going to stand up for issues, and I'm going to get my money. I'm going to still get my money. You ain't going to say nothing because I'm making you billions.
Yeah. So
they're understanding that more. I think if college athletes really understood, okay, so if we stay in this locker room, y'all ain't got no game.
Right. Yeah.
That's how that works.
Yep.
You have the power. Like, you have the power. And as a Black coach, as a female in any business or industry, like, you being a woman or you being a Black woman may check off enough boxes to get you in the room, to get you in the door. Okay.
Right.
Whatever. You the token, they need a token. It gets you in the door. But it should be your character. It should be your work ethic. It should be the value that you bring to the table that keeps you in the room.
Yeah.
And that's the part that we miss. We get so focused on, well, I don't want to be the token and I don't want to be this. No, stop. We keep talking about what the problem is. We know what the problem is, but we know what the problem is. It's like COVID-19. Everybody know. We see it. What is the solution? How do we play the game? You play the game by being sharp. You play the game by being knowledgeable. You play the game by being a great leader, being effective, being able to build quality relationships. And that all starts with you. One of the best things I did during my time out was I did an assessment, the DISC assessment. But I didn't just do the DISC. I did the motivations and the attributes. I needed to see, how do I handle problems in people? Why do I have issues dealing with this type of person?
Yeah.
Oh, it's because I want to solve problems and you want to have fun all the time.
Right.
Okay, so how do we work together? And I think that it helped me get to this point where I can say, okay, I'm messed up, and I need it. Helped me get to the point where I said I need that help, because I understand who I am. I understand how I operate. I understand what motivates me. I understand how to communicate with other people because I recognize your preferred communication style. I recognize this behavior. So now I know how to change my language. And I think, but I took the time to do that. I took the time to do that because if you can't communicate with people, you don't know how to build relationships. Right. You can't communicate with yourself. You don't have a good relationship with yourself. You can't lead. You can't manage. You can't coach. So everything starts with you. So stop focusing on, we can't put the focus on, we can't not have the conversation. But when we have the conversation, we got to say, okay, this is what it is. This is the game they're playing. We can't change the rules, but when we get in the game, we can change the game. Little by little.
We'll change the rules.
It's chess. It's not checkers. This game ain't gonna be over in a matter of minutes. This is chess. You gotta be in it to play the long game. You gotta learn to play the long game. And again, that's going back, understanding leadership. I'm constantly listening to audiobooks. I'm constantly reading. And like I said, I'll take a class in a minute. But when I take I'm taking the information and trying to apply it. I'm not just taking it, ingesting it, but I'm also, okay, whatever I'm putting in, I need to be able to give to somebody else. But that takes time. It takes time.
Yolanda Moore, this has been fantastic. How can people reach out to you? How can people connect with you? Where should they reach out?
Well, I am on, I have a website, yolanda-moore.com. I am on Facebook, Yolanda Moore Global. I'm on Instagram, Yolanda Moore Global. I'm on Twitter now, Y More Global. But yeah, just hit me up and I'd love to connect with any coach who has a question or wants to do any kind of, like self-assessment or any kind of personal development. I'll be more than happy to help. And I appreciate you for having me to be a part of this. It was fun.
Great to see you again. Great to see you again. Thank you.